Family business, one of the hot topics in our country, many developing countries, particularly because many of you running business today, you are most likely in the first generation. Some of you, like Amena said, started business 30 years ago. You were not exactly young then. So this is the time coming when the question is coming, what next? Learn about managerial, governance, and family practice. Because success is not an accident. It is a plan. And we may want to know that many businesses that we know successful started as family business. Coca-Cola started as a family business. Okay? We want to see, understand them and respect them, but also know where the challenges are so that we can take care of them. And one of the topics important is helping us in decision-making structure by building a board of directors or board of advisors or both. And I'll be sharing some of the examples of people who have walked through the journey of this. So we may want first to appreciate succession planning, what it means. Succession planning. There are many of us who think of succession as transferring property to our children. Business is not property, or not just property. It has functions, it has decision making, it has customers, it has relationships. You can transfer land, you can transfer buildings, have a structure of ownership of that. You can transfer them in a way that children cannot dispose them, in a way you didn't want. Lawyers would help you in organizing that. You can write a will on how all this can be done. And these challenges around this time have come a little more realistic to us, okay? It's a reality that an end will come. So we prepare ourselves, and I encourage you to do that. Prepare a trust for your property, prepare a will. But business succession planning is a lot deeper than that. It's a plan to establish the framework for the future transfer of ownership and management. Two things, ownership and management of your business to a chosen successor or successor, be it family, business partner, shareholder, management, outside partner, whatever it is. So we need to have a plan of how succession would happen. And here, my good friends, is a framework of success in family business from one generation to the other. It is made up of 3 pillars. Don't forget these, my good friends, if you forget anything else. 3 pillars. 1 is business systems. 2 is governance systems. And 3 is family system. 3 pillars. It's like the 3 legs of the traditional African stool. If you cut one, the stool cannot balance. And I want to spend a little time on this. Many of the things we have been talking about in the webinar are related to business systems. And I want you to evaluate the business systems that you have put. Setting up a business which have got strategy, it has structure, it has direction, it has vision and mission. See, a business that has no plan, we say failing to plan is planning to fail. So where the business is in the head of the business owner, and there are many times, and give credit especially to first generation leaders of business, you know your business inside out. People say, I know it like the back of my hand. Oh, yes, you do. Unfortunately, you're the only one who does that. The others don't. And the only way for the others to do is to create that kind of structure. First, let's develop a strategy, guiding us on where we are going to go. Okay, we have had webinars on how to develop a strategy. If you haven't, looked forward for when we are going to have one, develop a strategy for a business. you need to have a structure. You see, a strategy guides your structure. Who is going to do what, when, where? Structure. Okay? That way, you create opportunities to understand who is in the organization, whether family or not, and what exactly that they are doing. Have business systems. And the next one, have governance system. You see, governance becomes a lot easier to see when we are talking about other people, public sector, government, and so on. Decisions, right, are not being made right sometimes here and there. How about in our own business? This is where we want to create a structure that sustains proper decision making and onward looking. See, we need to have a legal form. What is the form of the business you have? Many times it's a lot easier to create ground for succession planning when we have a limited company, rather than when we are sole proprietor. Look at what happens when you have a sole proprietor. Okay, so I'm running a business, maybe it's farming, I have 100 cows, and I have 5 sons, typical of us Africans. So what do? I share my cows to my sons, each gets 20. Guess what? Each gets a fifth of the business. Each gets a fifth of the potential of the business. So what have you done for the business? You have reduced it instead of building it. But suppose I had shares, registered the business as a company, and the cows are owned by the company. I don't need to share the cows now. What do? I give them shares. If there are 5 shares, I get each. Now, the potential of the business remains the same. The power of the business remains the same. And each of them now can share from the results of that. My good friends, the other time I was training about taxation, I told you again, benefits of having business as a limited company. If you want to take some advice, go and think about converting. The law have been made much easier now. In the past, whenever you're building a company, you needed to register at least 2 directors. So there had to be at least 2 shares. Now you can do alone. That is the law now, right? Companies Act makes it easy. I've mentioned about distribution of ownership. Okay? So now you have a legal form, and then you distribute the ownership so that people know what I own is not a floor in the house, in the flat. It is not the number of cows. It's not this building. It's not the vehicle. What I own is a part of the business. So we sit together to make decisions as business people. Distribution of ownership, right? I liked once this old man who and I'll be sharing this kind of examples. I met him and we are talking about the ownership of the business. Tells me, you know what? Right now, I own 40% of the shares. Okay? My wife owns 20% of it. My children, 3 of them share the rest. And then he tells me, every other 3 or 4 years, I reduce my shareholding and increase my children's shareholding. Telling them, guess what? Soon I'm exiting and I'm leaving it to you. Distribution of ownership. Whenever you create that legal form, then you must have a structure of decision making. And that's why you need to have a board of directors. Of course, it is important that we have clarity of the mission and the goals as developing the strategy. And of course, as I've said, decision making process.